Ladies and gentlemen, remember to like and share the video, alright? Please, do not keep this to yourself. First and foremost, announcement. Mark Golding appoints Lothan Cousins as opposition spokesperson on Land and Works. The appointment ensures Jamaicans benefit from the coordinated advocacy on roads, drainage, housing, lands, and the responsible use of national physical assets. Right? Kingston, this was July 10th, right? That's today. Leader Mark Golding today announced the appointment of Lothan Cousins, a member of parliament for Clarendon Southwestern, as opposition spokesperson on Land and Works, following the decision of Richard Hassan, member of parliament for Clarendon Northwestern, to step down from the Works portfolio to concentrate on other political duties for the party. The newly consolidated profile brings land administration and public works under one person, reflecting the People's National Party commitment to an integrated approach to infrastructure development and land titling and management and the rebuilding of communities still recovering from Hurricane Melissa. The appointment ensures Jamaicans benefit from coordinated advocacy on roads, drainage, housing, lands, and the responsible use of the national fiscal asset. Mr. Golding expressed his sincere appreciation to Mr. Hassan for his service. Richard Hassan has served the Works portfolio with diligence and a deep understanding of the infrastructure needs of ordinary Jamaicans. He has been a tireless advocate for better roads and strong communities, and I thank him for his valuable contribution. He remains an important member of our parliamentary team. Speaking on the new appointment, Mr. Golding said Lothan Cousins is an energetic and capable parliamentarian who has consistently championed the interests of his constituents. This expanded land and works portfolio places him at the center of issues that matter to every Jamaican, and I am confident he will discharge his responsibilities with distinction. The People's National Party reaffirms itself to accountable governance and national development that puts the Jamaican people first. I want to say congratulations to Mr. Lothan Cousins, and I too am very confident in his ability to maneuver this particular assignment. Yes, so big up Mr. Lothan Cousins, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're gonna go to a Senate speech with none other than Miss Keisha Anderson. And let me tell you, this lady is no joke. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you, this lady is really no joke. Let's listen.
I think that I can start by agreeing with what colleague Senator just said, that the intention of pension is to guarantee the dignity for Jamaicans and ensure social stability for them in their retirement years. I'm not starting and ending there. I think, though, that in assessing how we are doing as policymakers, we have to determine whether or not the policies that we are laying are creating the outcome that we desire. And that's where I think there's some divergence. So let us look realistically at the pension industry. And using the data from the FSC as at December 31st, I do agree that the pension portfolio standing was 861 billion at that time, which is a mere 50 billion growth over the prior year, with the majority of those funds being in superannuation funds, 755 billion, and only 11% being in retirement schemes. And I'll soon tell you why that's important. There are 820 pension plans, only one more than the year before, and only 358 of those are active. So we have a lot of pension plans, but they're not necessarily active. And of the active plans, there are 343 superannuation, which would follow the format that was described by Senator Gale, and 15 retirement schemes. And why retirement schemes and the focus on them is important now is that he laid the case that people are not staying employed at one place for very, very long. And therefore, for them to be encouraged to be a part of Jamaicans who are saving towards their retirement, the retirement scheme option is much more sensible because it allows them to carry it when they go. And then on the employer side, it's actually just too expensive to set up a superannuation fund now. So with that, we wonder how many Jamaicans, therefore, are saving towards their retirement. And I think if we stop and think about it and look at the number, we'd be shocked to know it's really 174,000 Jamaicans. That's it. 174,000. Up only about 9,000.
He needs some milk
From the year before. So I don't think as we stand up here, debating the regulation, we can only focus on what we're saying, but we have to say, is it working? Is it getting the kind of behavior that we want to see occurring?
Let me tell you, I mean, this government majors in the minor, when they really look at the numbers and the effectiveness of what they're doing, they make all these grand announcements, but then when they look at the effectiveness and the results, it is woefully inadequate, ladies and gentlemen. But let's continue.
So that's 12%. I think I heard the question being asked, what percentage of the working population is only 12%? And so what does that mean now? The Jamaicans are either choosing not to save or they can't afford to save towards their retirement. And what does that mean? It means in the long term, the government will be responsible for creating that social safety network that will be retired. The pension funds are managed by a couple of different entities, securities dealers, life insurance companies, and credit unions. And in the FSC report of December 2025, they said that amidst a lower policy rate at 5.75%, there are heightened adverse risks towards inflation and real GDP that are affecting pension fund performance. Yeah. So trustees are being told to, look at your oversight, ensure that portfolios are being rebalanced to make sure that the return actually beats inflation and creates a real growth in pension fund savings for the pensioners. Yeah. So in examining today what the regulation is asking for, I had to look to see what it really doing. Is it going to impact those outcomes of having more persons want to join a retirement scheme, having more persons wanting to save towards a retirement? And Mr. President, I'm not sure it does that. So what is it asking for? The first thing it's asking for is a revision to the investment manager's fee. So the annual charge of 0.1% is not changing. But in looking at that 0.1%, I think there was a missed opportunity as we re-examine the regulation. Because I think we should have considered a review period built into it so that we look at what it is that we are charging and with what frequency we're going to be reviewing the rate. And I also think there was a missed opportunity in looking at the structure because we could have done one of two things, either include a cap, a tiered structure, or a declining marginal rate. So what we have by this 0.1% is really an uncapped regulatory levy. And no matter how we say it, that's the reality of how it actually operates. So if we think about the assets under management in the pension industry of 861 billion, then we're saying that is 861 million in fees that will be collected, which is a $50 million increase over the prior year. And we have to say, is it justifiable that just because there's an increase in the size of the portfolio, there should be a regulatory cost increase of that magnitude? And the Financial Services Commission belongs to the International Organization of Securities Commission, IOSCO, I always pronounce it wrong, to which the FSC is a signatory. And it provides under its cost of compliance principle that a regulator, when formulating policy, really should have regard for whether the cost of compliance is in keeping with the regulation. And Mr. President, I think the answer is no. Because the current structure is operating more like an ad valorem tax on pension asset accumulation rather than a pure cost recovery. So that's what, let me put it into context now and simplify it. So as pension assets grow because of contributions and investment returns, the FSC fee revenue automatically increases, even if the number of regulated entities and the supervisory resources remain broadly unchanged. So it's collecting more, even if there's no more work substantively to be done. So who will the fee impact? That fee would more than likely impact the operating costs of pension fund management, with institutions, just because of their size and doing a good job in giving good returns to pension funds, that are now penalized because they are growing. But most importantly, depending on the contractual arrangements that they do have and depending on how they distribute costs, those costs are automatically going to flow down to the investment management fees and therefore to the pension beneficiaries. And so I think that point cannot be lost on us, because whereas the pension fund performance will increase, if they're paying more fees, then they're going to pass on those fees. I keep repeating that fees don't disappear and companies don't just absorb fees. Fees actually pass on to the end user, which in this case would be the pensioners. So I think that we really have to, at any other review point, that we are looking back at the regulation, we really should consider an appropriate model, such as either a fixed base license fee plus a lower assets under management kind of supervisory charge, or a tiered assets under management fee arrangement with a percentage applied declining as the assets increase. Of course, with the safeguard that the regulator will collect a minimum fee. The second concern, Mr. President, is around the whole concept of double charge, which of course would make the charge to the pensioners and what they actually accumulate each year that they invest be reduced. Because the industry, at this point, I don't think has confirmation that the assets under management fee applies only to pension assets directly managed by the investment manager. And I'm sorry Senator Duncan is not here, because I'm sure he would agree that this is necessary to prevent double charging. Because pension fund assets are invested again in the same instruments that the financial sector has to offer. So they are invested back in pool funds, collective investment schemes, or unit trusts, right? And so if it's not clear how the charge is calculated on assets under management, it is potential that the same pension fund could actually pay the charge twice. And the double charging will ultimately impact the same pensioners through expenses of the pension fund to which they belong. So some clarity is needed on the whole double charge impact and double charge potential. And then I think to a less fundamental point, but a point nonetheless, there are fees articulated in this amendment, a $2,000 alteration fee and a $5,000 fee for amendments of the constitutive documents. And I think some clarity is needed on whether or not each alteration is going to require this fee, because simple things like changes in directors and officers or an address could constitute an alteration. So I think we really have to look at that. So what's the bottom line of my contribution today, Mr. President? Not enough Jamaicans are planning for their retirement. To think 174,000, I don't know if it's not shocking to anybody else, but it's really shocking to me, because I think of one, the level of outcry from pensions and older people in society just that they can't make ends meet. And therefore, if we don't do something now, it's going to be social programs in the years to come, and we do have an aging population. The quality of living of our seniors must be examined, and we have to determine whether or not there are real tangible things that we can do now as we plan for the future. If Jamaicans don't invest, the government will actually have to support more. Fees don't get absorbed by companies, Mr. President. I can't say it enough. Oversight is essential, but we have to ensure that we're not overcharging for the oversight. And really against the backdrop of the asset tax, the increase in fees to securities dealers, the increase in the insurance fees we just spoke about, this now increase in the pension fee, for me, begs the question, are we designing these fees to simply recover for the cost of regulation, which we all agree is important, or are we creating an additional revenue stream, as seen with the 500 million withdrawal from the FSC to the government coffers that just really occurred? So, Mr. President, I think we have some real things. It could be. We really have to think about the policies that we are setting by the decisions that we make, and the future of Jamaica that we're designing by the decisions that we make. And I put it to you, at the end of the day, these decisions will impact the people of Jamaica.
Big shout out to Sylvan F. Joan. How you doing? Curious. Blessings to you. C Jam, big up. Kirk, big up yourself. Merle. Wow. That was a mouthful, ladies and gentlemen. In terms of the senior citizen situation, and the People's National Party has been very consistent when it comes to this topic, very consistent, and she has raised some very serious concerns. All we can hope is that the Labourites them listen, because they are the ones in power. But if they're not going to listen to God, they think they're going to listen to the People's National Party. Let's continue. Mr. Dr. Alfred Dawes, ladies and gentlemen, Portmore electoral boundary meeting.
And we are here to support them and to facilitate them. There is no power for this committee. It's an absolute waste of time, and I will not be going back. The EOJ is doing their job, and we are here to support them and to facilitate them. Of course, once Portmore becomes a parish, there are 3 constituencies in Portmore. They will have to be renamed, obviously. So, for example, East Central St. Catherine will now become, let's say, Portmore.
In this boundary alignment meeting. So tell us some of the sticking points that came out of the meeting, and whether or not you're satisfied with the direction that the discussions are taking.
Well, my participation is going to be limited for the simple reason this is a kangaroo committee, as much as you'd hear about a kangaroo court. They have already decided that they're going to form a Portmore parish, and it is based on gerrymandering. Last time I checked, voters chose who their elected representatives were. I never see anywhere where elected representatives choose who their voters are. And this is what has happened. So I'm not going to co-sign to anything because they can say it was passed by both houses of parliament. I know they're going to say that they have consultations with the members of parliament and the elected officials in Portmore. That's nonsense. They decided that they're going to draw some lines in the sand as if there are some colonial masters. They have turned neighbors into people who live in different parishes with very little consideration for how their goals of trying to garrisonize East Central St. Catherine is going to affect people who are living in the space. No proper consultation for the people, none whatsoever with the elected officials, and I expect us now to come on board and bicker about which meandering line we can change or suggest to be changed. There is no power for this committee. It's an absolute waste of time, and I will not be going back. Robert Miller.
I don't need to hear nothing else, ladies and gentlemen. Warmington exposed what the entire agenda of the Jamaica Labour Party is in regards to this particular situation. You understand? 3 games. Warmington exposed exactly what what they're actually going to do. Guys, let's go. Do the right thing. Alright? So, that is, yeah, the man says a kangaroo court. People, just know say, God is in control here. Fret not thyself about evildoers and workers of iniquity. Alright? Come through my side. Fret not thyself, okay? Yeah, man. Let me just read the first verse of this. No. Is it Proverbs? Yeah, no, not Psalms. Proverbs. Proverbs? But no, man, that's Psalms, man. Psalms. Oh, Jesus. I'll go and find it. Jamaica. Yes, here it is. Psalms 37. Do not fret because of those who are evil, or be envious of those who do wrong. For like the grass, they will soon wither. Like the green plants, they will soon die away. So all of them in the government that is doing their evil, fret not thyself, ladies and gentlemen. Alright? Fret not thyself. That is the message. Alright, let me know what you guys think about Keisha Anderson's position on the in terms of the pensioners. The fact that a lot of people are not really saving. They don't really have the money to save. It's a very desperate situation that we're actually in. You understand? Also the appointment of Mr. Lothan Cousins and the very blunt position of Dr. Alfred Dawes, calling it like it is. I mean, the man is definitely a new breed, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a breath of fresh air to hear. And I don't view him as a politician, I see him as a statesman. You understand? And a lot of them in there, in the parliament, does not like his bluntness, but it is so refreshing. Much like Keisha Burchett. You understand? So, let me know what you guys think about that. Like and share the video. Don't keep it to yourself.